Hi everyone. So in this video, we'll try to figure out how these multibaggers are formed. So many people have this thinking that okay, multibaggers are formed due to earnings explosion, right? So that is true in case of cyclicals, where there is a surge in the commodity prices and because of which the earnings go up 3x, 5x, 10x, and things like that. But for most of these non-cyclical stocks, that is these investment grade stocks, if you want to buy a multibagger and sit on them, then it is a combination of earnings growth. Okay, it can be decent earnings growth. It need not be 50% earnings growth every year and things like that. Even let's say 15-20% kind of earnings growth every year combined with a P re-rating. So in this video, I'll be explaining what P re-rating it is and why does it happen, right? So first we'll try to understand what PE is. PE is nothing but price divided by the earnings per share. So the earnings per share, it kind of changes every quarter, right? Whenever the company comes out with quarterly results, what happens? If it is better than the YOY result, then it goes up. If it is bad than the YOY result, it goes down. So the EPS changes every quarter, but the price changes on every trading day, right? So price equal to P divide into EPS. This also you can do. So now let us look at one example here. So if you take alkylamines, so alkylamines currently trades at 2762, right? So the stock PE is 62.3 and the EPS is 44.4. So the current price, how it is determined, PE multiplied by the EPS. So if you do the math, so that is 62 multiplied by 44.4. So you'll come up to this. So I didn't take the fraction here, 62.3, the decimal point. So that is why there is a little difference, right? So this is how you arrive at the particular price. So what is this P re-rating and why does it happen? So if you look at the P of this particular stock, alkylamine, in 2018, 2019, it used to trade in that 22 let's say 15, 20, 15, 20. That was the range for this particular stock. And then a huge re-rating happened. The P went up to, at the peak, it went up to almost 75. So why does this P re-rating happen? So P re-rating usually happens in fundamentally good stocks. Once the big guys, they start coming in and buying a stock, that is when the P re-rating for that particular stock happens, right? So this particular stock, let's say in March of 2020, the stock was trading at a EPS of 30, PE of 15. So the stock should have been trading at for 450 or 400 and let's say 65 thereabout, right? But if I have to do the math, so 15 multiplied by 30. So the stock was in March, it was trading at 450 bucks. And then at the peak of the cycle, it went up to 75 and the EPS went up to 50. So there is no much growth in the EPS, right? So in let's say a year or year and a half or year and one quarter, that is in 5 quarters, the EPS has gone up by let's say 60% from 31 almost to 49. So the EPS has gone up by 60%. So many people think that okay, the stock should have also gone up by 60%. But what happened was P multiplied by EPS. So if you do that, that is almost 75 multiplied by 50 is 3750. What was the price at this point? 450. We already did that calculation. Okay, sorry. 37550 divided by 450, that is almost 8x. Alkylamines gave you a return of 8x in a 5 quarter period. So why did that happen? Because the PE re-rated 5 times, whereas the earnings went up 1.6 times. So even if you do the calculation, 5 times PE growth, that is the PE growth from 515 to 75, multiplied the with the earnings explosion of 60%, so 1.6. So that is 8x. So this is what happens in good quality companies, and it is not like they are going to fall down to that 15-20 mark. Usually, once the big guys start coming in, the PE gets re-rated, and it usually stays at the same level. Something similar happened with something like Polycab. So Polycab is something is to track in 2019 thereabout when it was trading in that 600 range, right? So twice what it was trading in that 600 range. So it used to trade in that 15 P mark, and its earnings were around 40, right? So around 38, 39, and the P was 50. And then what happened at the peak somewhere here, the earnings from 40 went up to, let's say, 55, almost a 35-40% kind of growth, right? 40% growth in the earnings, whereas the PE got re-rated three times from 15 to 45, right? So if you do the math, 1.4 multiplied by 3, so this stock became a 4x. From 600 odd rupees, it went up to even 2800. Now it has gone even higher. But I'm talking about the peak where most of the stocks hit a peak, right? Around January of 22. So at that time, and even now, there is no much. I mean, this P is still holding around that 35 mark compared to the 15 mark, which was here, right? So once these stocks are discovered by the big guys, usually what happens, there is a P re-rating that happens in the stock, and they usually maintain that level going ahead. So, if you want to figure out a multi-bagger stock, it is very important that it is trading at a reasonable P and not at expensive P. Because let's say if there is a 60 P stock, so for that 60 P stock to get double, right, it has to go to 120 P, which is very difficult, right? So in such stocks, you can do compounding, but you can't really make multi-bagger gains in them. So the best thing that a retail investor can do is figure out fundamentally great stocks where you see earnings growth of, let's say, 20 to 15, 20% in the coming years. And also there is a high chance for the re-rating. So how do you know that there is a high chance for re-rating? If there is a structural story that is playing out, some kind of a tailwind, then the big guys are also going to come in if it is a fundamentally good stock, and they themselves are going to re-rate the P. And that is how multi-bagger stocks are formed. Hope this helps. Thank you.